Hi guys, welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game preview of our upcoming Premier League fixture against Brighton and Holgate tomorrow at Goodison Park. As you can see, for the first time ever on the channel, I'm joined by a guest. I'm joined by Network Michael D, or Mike as we call him. I'm sure you all know him. You definitely know him. If you know me, you know Mike. He's going to join us today. He's going to join us today to do...
Affectionately.
What, sorry?
Affectionately.
That's it. He's going to join us today to do the preview. We're going to go through obviously the predicted starting 11 as we usually would do. A little bit later on, we're going to talk about our initial thoughts on the game. I suppose I'll start just after obviously the backlash of what's been quite a negative week for Everton Football Club. I think it's fair to say, obviously after the Merseyside derby, what didn't start well, did it? Let's be perfectly honest. The performance on Sunday was an absolute shambles, to say the least. Trying to put it behind us and go into the new week. Obviously, we had all of the stuff with Fabian Delph and him getting into sort of Instagram arguments and private message arguments with fans turning up to the training ground and talking to Marcel Brands. There was a lot that happened this week that, you know, we didn't really see coming when Carlo Ancelotti took the job as Everton manager. I think we all knew that it was going to take time. We all knew that it was a process and it was a project. But I didn't think we thought we'd see fans turning up to the training ground in protest and you know, players arguing back with fans on social media. But maybe that's what we needed. You know, that performance on Sunday was nothing short of an absolute embarrassment. It was a joke. And maybe the players needed, you know, to hear that they need to put effort in and they can't just get away with going out there and thinking that, you know, a bit of quality that they may have had 2 or 3 years ago will get them through the game, because it certainly didn't work on Sunday. You know, got a big game tomorrow afternoon at Goodison Park. Brighton currently sitting 14th in the Premier League. They actually go level on points with us if they win as well. I'm not too sure what the goal difference stat is, so I don't know whether they take us over on goal difference, but they go level on points with us. So, you know, it's a really important Premier League fixture. I suppose the only... You know, it's not a positive, let's be perfectly honest, but I suppose the only thing, if you were to pick anything out of Sunday's game, was that it wasn't a Premier League game. We are desperately struggling in the Premier League at the minute, even off the back of, you know, the couple of wins under Carlo Ancelotti and the performances under Duncan Ferguson, which are obviously massively improved to what we were seeing under Marco Silva. We still are struggling at the minute, and we still do need to get as many points on the board as possible. You know, we're in January, we're still not mathematically safe, so we need a win on tomorrow afternoon, considering that Brighton could go above us. It's a big game. I expect to see some changes from Carlo Ancelotti, especially given obviously the stuff that's gone on in midweek. Put as the title of the video, I've gone for Holgate and Davies in midfield. Like I said, we'll go through our predicted starting 11s in a minute and talk through them all as a full, but it is a massive game, and you know, it's a game that we really need to go out and win. And more importantly for me, well, not more importantly, because the most important thing is that you go out and get the 3 points, but equally as importantly, arguably, we need to go out and put a performance in, because, you know, that performance on Sunday, it wasn't just the result, it wasn't just being beaten by, you know, Liverpool 1-0, it wasn't being beaten by, you know, Liverpool's reserves or Liverpool's youth or whatever you want to call it. It was the performance that we put in, and the fact that we just absolutely gave up, especially when we went a goal down. There was no fight, there was no battle, there was no want to get back into the game. It was utterly shambolic and embarrassing. So the players need to go out there and they need to put a performance in, they need to put 110% in. I was really happy with Carlo Ancelotti's press conference today. You know, he looked like a man that had absolutely slapped the arses of every single one of those players and told them, you need to perform tomorrow afternoon, otherwise, you know, it's going to be a hellhole for you. And let's hope the players react to that, because let's be honest, they need to react to that, don't they? What are your thoughts on the game, Mike? Initial thoughts? Obviously, it's going to be a tough game. Brighton, you know, in relatively good form at the minute. Everton, I'd say we're in okay form other than the last 2 games, but obviously the last week hasn't been great in terms of the players' attitudes and how the whole atmosphere, I'd probably say, is going to be tomorrow. So what are your initial thoughts, obviously, going into the game?
I think it's a massive game for Everton. Just off the back, it's been a rough week. Obviously, the FA Cup game was a shambles, as you quite rightly said. And also congratulations to you as well, because your channel's been flying over the last 2 weeks, and seeing someone who tried to support you from the start, and tried to always give you little bits of advice. I'm really proud of you, Max. Well done. Deserve it. We've had a rough couple of weeks. If you go back before as well to the Man City game, and then the Liverpool game. The Liverpool game was really bad because essentially we got boxed by toddlers, by nippers, and it was embarrassing how easy it was to get through our midfield. We all know that irrespective of Delph coming on, Sigurdsson and Schneiderlin being there, they got absolutely schooled on how to play football, and they finished the game off with a superb finish. In the first half, we should have had probably three or four goals. So we go into this Brighton game, and we've got to address a lot of the issues. Fundamentally, weren't there 2 weeks ago. We were playing better. Ferguson was getting a tune out of midfield. I remember one particular game. I think it might have been. I can't remember which game it was actually. He played Sigurdsson and Davies in the middle, and Sigurdsson looked like a completely different player. And then all of a sudden, we've come forward 4 weeks, and he looks like the same old shit Sigurdsson that we've had for probably the best part of 18 months. So I was massively disappointed in the Liverpool game. I can't see personally how we can play as bad as we did in that second half against Brighton as we did against Liverpool. Because if we do, Brighton will beat us. We've lost to Norwich. We've lost to all the promoted side this season, basically. We have to get a result against this Brighton side. And don't get me wrong. They've got a good team. Malpay, creative. They've got a creative midfield. They've got a strong defence. Shane Duffy's looking forward, going back to Goodison. We can struggle against these, but what we have to do is play to our strengths, which is our pace, Charleston, Bernard, Moise Keane, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, all of those players. You would think would walk into that Brighton side. So let's see that fight, and let's make sure that whatever formation we go, we win in the centre of the park, because that for me is key to tomorrow. And actually, not just key to tomorrow, key to the fans. It's key to us, because I don't want to see us go overrun again in midfield like we did against Liverpool. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think you hit the nail on the head, to be honest there. You'd look at our squad and you would like to think that a good majority of them would get in Brighton's squad, but when you're looking at the performances recently, and you mentioned there the Manchester City game, I think a lot of us sort of allowed the Manchester City game to go under the carpet a little bit because obviously we'd played a lot of games in such a short period of time, and you could see that there was fatigue, you could see that there was issues with fitness, you could see that players were starting to tire, and we were playing, let's be honest, one of the best teams in world football, regardless of the form that they're on this season, regardless of how they've been performing. They're still a very, very good team. So we sort of let that go under the carpet, and we sort of let that be dismissed a little bit, but the performance against Liverpool really wasn't good enough. We had quite a few days rest before that game, and we should have turned up with the expectation to, at the very, very least, battle. And if we'd have battled in that game, and if we'd have worked hard in that game, I think we'd have won it quite easily, because Liverpool's youth team, or the players that they had out on that day, would have struggled to have kept up with the quality that we would have shown if we'd have fought and if we'd have battled, but we didn't. And when you're not up for a game of football, and when you can't be bothered, and when you're just strolling around, and like Gylfi Sigurdsson was, like Morgan Schneiderlin was, like you said, Gylfi Sigurdsson come back into the game, and he seemed fantastic, into the team, and he seemed fantastic a few weeks ago, but then yesterday, he was on Sunday, he was absolutely dreadful, and he's been dreadful for 2 or 3 weeks now, and he needs to come out the squad, and that's why we need a massive reaction tomorrow, and players need to, at the very, very least, try their absolute hardest. Give me just 2 seconds. Apparently there's a little bit of an echo into the team, and he seemed fantastic.
Let me see if I can find some headphones.
Got a bit of headphones on, and well, in the meantime, while Mike's doing that, I'll just fill the space. Obviously, like I said, Mike hit the nail on the head there. We haven't been good enough for the last 2 weeks, and we need to improve massively. And at the end of the day, listen, it's easy to say the players are tired. It's easy to say that there's fitness issues. It's easy to say that we should be doing better, but that performance against Liverpool really wasn't good enough. And if we perform like that tomorrow, we will be beaten, because Brighton are a decent team. They're on good form. They've got some very, very informed players. Your Handbatch, obviously, who hadn't scored a goal for however long, is now banging them in for fun. So, it is going to be a tough game. It's not going to be easy, and that's why, for me, I think Carlo Ancelotti needs to pick a specific group of players that are ready to go out there and are ready to put a performance in, because for me, the likes of Fabian Delph, the likes of Morgan Schneider, the likes of Gylfi Sigurdsson, Seamus Coleman, they're not ready. They're not going to be able to go out there and put a performance in, because the performance on Sunday was so poor. They haven't come out and apologised for that performance. They haven't come out and said, oh yeah, we need to do better. And they've come out and they've argued with fans. They've done the exact opposite of that. And that's exactly what we don't need, and that's exactly what needs to change. So obviously going into that, I suppose it's a good place to start. While Mike's gone, I'll give my predicted start 11 to the game. So in goal, I've gone for Jordan Pickford. Now this will probably not sit well with a few people, I would assume, and that's because Jordan Pickford obviously in the last 2 or 3 weeks hasn't been good enough. I think that's fair to say. He hasn't been good enough. However, when you look at the people that can potentially come on and potentially, replace him or take his place for the minute, Jonas Lersel, who's been thrown about, hasn't played a Premier League game for Everton, hasn't played a competitive game for Everton, really hasn't been in the squad for the last 2 or 3 weeks. As soon as Duncan Ferguson obviously took over as interim manager, he was shunned out the squad, and hasn't been in the squad since. Obviously, Martin Stecklenburg, although Jordan Pickford might have an attitude issue, although Jordan Pickford might be in, relatively poor form at the minute, I'd still rather have Jordan Pickford over Martin Stecklenburg, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. So I've gone for Jordan Pickford in goal. Back line of Leighton Baines. I'm putting Leighton Baines in there. I think, Luca Dean over the last few weeks, he hasn't been good whatsoever. A few people are being critical of him. I personally think he's playing with an injury, if I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. So I've gone for putting Leighton Baines in there. I don't think we need another game out of Luca Dean where he's struggling, and where fans are getting on his back and fans are starting to pick at him a little bit. I've gone for a back two centre back of Michael Keane and Yerry Mina. I'll explain why in a minute. Yerry Mina is self-explanatory, of course, and Michael Keane because I'm putting Mason Holgate in the midfield, basically. And right back Jabril Sidibe. Midfield, obviously Seamus Coleman was poor on Sunday, so I've gone for Sidibe in there. Midfield 4 of Bernard on the left. Obviously didn't do an awful lot when he come in against Liverpool, but I still think there's more of an impact than certain other players that could potentially be on that left hand side. I've gone for Richarlison on the right, of course, and Mason Holgate and Tom Davies in midfield. Like I said, maybe the energy that we needed on Sunday, maybe the urgency, the fight and the battle that we needed on Sunday could have been found in those two players. Obviously, Carlo Ancelotti went for Morgan Schneider and Gylfi Sigurdsson, and we knew how that worked. We quickly found out how that worked out, and it wasn't well. And I've gone for Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Moise Keane up front. Dominic Calvert-Lewin obviously in relatively good form, other than the last sort of 2 weeks against two really, really good sides. Hasn't done an awful lot. And Moise Keane in there, who again needs to make a big impression, and maybe this is the game for him to do so. I believe there's still issues. Bear with me 2 seconds. I'm not too sure what's Calvert-Lewin obviously going on. That's what happens when you've got live television, or YouTube, whatever you want to call it. Let us know if it's alright. Incoming missile. Let us know if it's alright. I'm clear. I can hear. Absolute. It's like white noise to me. I'm clear. Let us know in the comments before Mike dived into his predicted starting 11 for the game. There we go. I'm waiting in on the comments. I'm aware I'm a little bit behind. But yeah, that's my predicted starting 11. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. If you agree, why do you agree? If you don't agree, give me your starting 11s. Obviously, I assume a lot of people will want Jordan Pickford out, which is understandable, I suppose. But for me, I just don't think there's a replacement in there that's ready to come in. I really don't want to see Martin Stecklenburg, because I just don't think he's good enough. And Jonas Lersel hasn't even been in the squad for the last 2 or 3 weeks, so I'm not too sure what's gone on with him. Go on then, Mike. What's your starting 11?
Can you hear me first?
I can hear you, yeah. I'm not too sure if anybody else can. Bear with me 2 seconds. I can hear you fine. Go on, start it, and I'll make sure while you're doing it.
Yeah. So I think first and foremost, I think your team was pretty much spot on. I think we'd go with the same team. I'll go with Baines to start over Luca Dean. He hasn't offered loads this season. I'll play a midfield with Holgate because I think we were more adaptable with Holgate in the centre of midfield. He was very composed on the ball. He was able to pass it very, very easily. So, yeah, I'll go with the same team you do, mate.
There you go, easy as, so very nice. Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's a team that it'll give it'll give the fans a little bit of enthusiasm in Carlo Ancelotti. Obviously, it takes away the issue with Morgan Schneiderlin, the issue with Gylfi Sigurdsson, and it puts in a midfield that I do think has energy and I do think has pace, because an energy a midfield with Gylfi Sigurdsson and with Morgan Schneiderlin is just not energetic, isn't it? I don't think we should see that midfield ever again, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Definitely not in an Everton shirt. But yeah, like Mike said there, the predicted starting 11 on myself. I think that's a team that is going to bring energy. It's a team that's going to get a reaction, and that's exactly what we need. We need a reaction out of the team, because at the end of the day, as fans, we don't expect to see what we saw on Sunday. And we definitely don't expect that at the minimum is for players to turn up and not look interested and not look involved and not seem bothered whatsoever. And that is so disheartening as a fan, especially when players are coming out then after the game and they're calling fans delusional and they're acting as if they're on a pedestal when they're really not. Obviously, ultimately, we're the people that pay these players' wages. We're the people that the players should be thanking, really, and should be apologising to, especially after a performance like that. So yeah, it is going to be a tough game. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a game that we're going to walk. Brighton are a team that are in relatively good form at the minute, and a team that can definitely improve, and Everton are a team that there is a little bit of negativity surrounding the club at the minute, and hopefully that can be resolved with a win on Saturday. We'll dive in the live comments. I think I fixed it. I think it's something to do with the audio, the desktop audio. I had that loud. GM's just mentioned that, so thanks for mentioning that. Throw your mic on and let's see if it's still going. I don't know whether it has fixed it or whether that's just me absolutely making stuff up, but we'll soon see. Steve says, hi Cam, love the videos mate, really like the passion, you're a proper blue, thanks very much Steve. Jack says, alright lads, alright Jack. Alfie says, what's up guys, hope you're doing well. Can we put you two in midfield instead? RG says, Cam, who do you think we'll bring in this month? I don't know, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, I don't know. Max says, do you think Anthony Gordon will start? No. Paddy says, Anthony should get a shot this week. Maybe he should be on the bench, but I don't think he'll start. Steve says, good to see you, Cam and Mike together. Yeah, Sonny says, don't want Golden Stars, it's a must win.
But next time with some headphones.
Go on. What?
Next time with some headphones.
I don't know whether it's fixed now. It might have actually 100% been my fault. Because I think I had some setting on that shouldn't have been on, basically. Bear with me just 2 seconds. Let's get back into the live comments. GM, I'm only using 2, I think. Just my mic and obviously the audio that's coming from Mike, my mic and Mike's mic. Bloody hell, that's a bit of a tongue twister to say. So yeah, listen, I think it is going to be a tough game, and it's going to be a game that we need to go out and we need to put in a good performance, and at the end of the day we need to win, because that performance on Sunday wasn't good enough, and let's see what we can do. Anything to add to that?
No, to be honest, I just think it's a really key game that we have to get a result from. If we don't get a result, it's an absolute joke. One of the other things that I wanted to mention, I did mention before we started, Cam, was just about mental health, really. So obviously I've been doing a massive piece on mental health and about awareness and about people talking about their feelings. And look, we all have moments, we all have episodes when we feel a bit shitty and a bit low and a bit down. Just reach out. People like Cam, his DMs are open. He's more than happy to see you at the game, have a chat. The same as myself. I'm in the fan zone from 1:00 tomorrow. So I just want to say, look, if you're feeling vulnerable, lonely, insecure, feeling a bit shitty, we're here. Do you get what I mean? I'm sure Cam's had some problems in his past. I've had some problems in my past. We know how it feels. There is no reason to be embarrassed or scared or hidden. And I just want to say, look, reach out. Please, please, please reach out if you feel shit.
Spot on. Like Mike said there, just echoing exactly like Mike said, my DMs are literally always open. Drop me a message at any point, even if it's just for general conversation. If you just want to talk about football, films, television, just reach out. Exactly the same with Mike. We're always at the game, so if you ever want to come and meet up and have a pint, that's absolutely fine. While everything seems to be sorted, we'll dive back into the live comments.
Yeah, that's it.
Get involved. I can't even remember where we were up to. Yeah, I think we're here. Good source says, right lads, as you said, massive game. Ancelotti needs to make 4 or 5 changes to show his intent for the future. Some of those players who played Sunday need to be shown that they can't just steal a living. I agree, spot on, and I think not only for the the fact of to telling the players that didn't perform that they need to start performing, but also for the fans as well. I think. I always say this every game preview. For me, your match day starts when the team news comes out. Obviously, it might start earlier if you go for your brekkie or you're having a few pints and you're talking about the week, in terms of football. But your match day, from an Everton point of view and from Everton's responsibility, starts when that team news is announced. And if that team news is announced at 2 o'clock tomorrow and Morgan Schneider and Gylfi Sigurdsson in the midfield, it's already going to start off poorly and it's already setting itself up for a bad day in terms of atmosphere, in terms of the fans wanting to go the game, and in terms of the performance as well. Whereas if we're sitting there at 2 o'clock in the pub and you're a couple of pints down and you see the team news and you see Mason Holgate and Tom Davies in midfield there and Keane up front and Sidibe and Leighton Baines is back in, then you are up for it and you do feel a little bit more enthusiastic because you can see that the manager has taken into consideration not only obviously what he has seen himself, but obviously what the fans have now directly spoken to him about, or directly spoken to Marcel Brands about. He said in his pre-game press conference that he's spoken to Marcel Brands about what those fans had to say and the issues that those fans raised. So that he's listened to us as a fan base and that he's seen what we've all seen as well, and I think that's really, really positive, and that's exactly what we want to see tomorrow. And for me, like I said, the team that I've picked, I think would do that. I suppose a lot of you would have picked a similar teams, maybe a couple of changes that would do that as well. But I think that's important to start off on a right foot in doing that, as well as to tell them certain players like Fabian Delph, maybe Gylfi Sigurdsson, Morgan Schneider, that the performances that they've been putting in just aren't good enough whatsoever. Robust says, what's your expectation? Anything to add to that, by the way, Mike?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I also think as well, it's about the energy as well. We're seeing a lot of teams now, Liverpool, Man City, they play with a real energy all over the park. Yeah. And I genuinely believe, and this is, again, no disrespect to any of our players, but when you look at, say, the middle 4 being Holgate, Mina, Schneiderlin, Sigurdsson, there's no energy there. There's no get up and go. And we seriously miss that without Garner.
Yeah.
So we have to have that player in there that is, typical box to box, is someone who's got the legs to sort of dominate the middle of the park, because it's why we got overrun against Liverpool. So for me, I'm really, really, really hoping that he does play Tom Davies and Mason Holgate, because I genuinely believe that if he played those two in the middle of the park against Liverpool, we'd have beat them 2 or 3-0, because they wouldn't have been able to dominate the centre of the pitch.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Like you said, there is that energy, and we, again, Zisagana Gaze added to the list of Everton players that were sold, not replaced, and now ultimately sit back and say, oh my God, we miss him every single week. Lukaku's on that list as well. But I agree, a midfield too, especially if somebody like Tom Davies, who knows what it's like to support the club and knows what it's like to be on the other end of sitting in the crowd and watching us absolutely fall to bits at Anfield and watching us not put a performance in and not care and lose games when we shouldn't lose games. He knows what that feels like. Mason Holgate, a young player that's obviously wanting to impress at every single given point. And that midfield it brings youth, and with youth comes energy. We've seen that with their team on Sunday. We knew from the off, or we should have knew as a football club, and I think we all knew as fans, that them young players, okay, give them the due. A couple of them, we're good on the ball and we're skillful. There was a couple of, players that you look at and you think you're going to be a real player in the future. But their 11 on Sunday, Liverpool's 11, could have been full of absolute Sunday League footballers with not an ounce of quality at all. But what we should have absolutely knew they were going to bring was energy and was effort and was pace. And if you're putting a midfield two of Gylfi Sigurdsson and Morgan Schneider in against 3, young players who have got pace to burn and who have got energy for days and who can run round for hours and hours and hours on end, it's not going to work. You're going to get overrun in the midfield, and ultimately, regardless of how good their level of football is, which it ended up being that, you know, they weren't that bad, but even if they were shocking, it would have just taken them longer to break through and longer to score, but they were always going to overrun us, and they were always going to have the ball of the ball in the midfield, because our midfield was just too slow. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Mason Holgate and Tom Davies is the fastest midfield you could get, but it's definitely the fastest that we can make up now with the players that we've got. And again, I think it's a midfield that fans would look at and go, you know what, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm excited for seeing that. Whereas I even think if Morgan Schneiderlin's in there next to Tom Davies, or if Sigurdsson's in there next to Tom Davies, there'd still be a little bit of a, you know, there'd be a lot of a disappointment with the fan base, because let's be realistic, those two players shouldn't be playing tomorrow. Robert says, what's your expectation for this season? Top at 10. Literally, I don't really expect. Top 10, maybe 8. Top 8, I don't know. Something like that. Mike, yours?
Yeah, I think top 8 at a push. I think Wolves, I think Sheffield United, and I think Arsenal have to come good again, which puts us about 8th.
Yeah, it is. It's around, and it's, you know, it's not nice, because going into the season, it is disappointing, because going into the season we had big expectations. Obviously the back.
I said we were going to finish 3rd.
Well, there you go.
On my channel, I said Everton would finish 3rd.
There you go. Exactly, and you know, at the start of the season in August, saying push for top 4 wasn't the wildest, you know, statement. It wasn't like if you said, oh, Everton could push for top 4 this season in August, people wouldn't have gone, well, what are you talking about? That's a load of crap. That was probably with a couple of good signings, you genuinely could. We brought in Moise Keane. People expected a lot more from that signing than what's come. Maybe we shouldn't have expected, because he is a young player in a new country, learning his trade, learning the language. Similarly with other players that we brought in as well. But, you know, I think when you look back at August and you look at the expectation that we had coming off the back of Marco Silva's first season, which ended, you know, quite well, to be perfectly honest with you, some good results against some big teams. You are looking forward to the season. You are thinking, if we can carry on that form and if we can add a couple of additions, then, you know, potentially we could be in there battling for at the very, very least the top 6. But, you know, that's not how football works. Obviously, it spiraled out of control for Marco Silva. Certain players weren't performing. And we've brought in a manager now.
Cam?
Yeah, go on.
Can I ask you just a quick question just on that? So, you know, Marco Silva obviously had a tough time at the start of the season. Yeah. I did a video in the summer that was very critical, actually, of Marcel Brands and how late he moved in the transfer window. I got a lot of shit for it, as I think you probably remember.
I watched the video, yeah.
You know, I remember sitting there and going, how can we go on deadline day going from being linked with Zaha, Decore and Zuma to bringing in Iwobi, which Arsenal fans were very happy about. And we also left it extremely late after having a pretty poor pre-season. We didn't replace Garner quick enough, in my opinion. Yes, Gabamian got injured, fair enough, but, you know, Brands couldn't. Do you feel that Marcel Brands maybe is... It's a touchy one, but is he under pressure?
I think there's definitely questions, and I 100% agree. I'm not the happiest about the summer's transfers. I think we were left massively short. Marco Silva was left massively short with centre-back options, and when you've got 3 centre-backs, it literally only takes one of them to be in a bad run of form or one of them to get injured, and you're bollocksed. Because if you're playing 4 or 5 games in the space of 2 or 3 weeks, like, you know, we have been doing in December this year, and you've got, you know, 2 centre-backs that you can rely on, and 1 centre-back, in this case, in Michael Keane, who is a little bit, you know, dodgy and isn't in the greatest run of form, then it leaves you in a situation, for example, you know, I'd ideally like a more on-form centre-back than Michael Keane to be stepping in tomorrow, but because Mason Holgate may have to jump into that midfield, there's nobody else to come in, and I know people will throw some of the players from the under-23s or the youth development, and that's fine, but, you know, I don't think Carlo Ancelotti's had an awful lot of time to look at those players, let alone judge if they're good enough to play in the Premier League. So I understand your point. I think for me, this is a big summer for Marcel Brands. I'm not really judging too much on January. We might get 1 or 2 deals done in January, and I think, you know, I don't think judging anybody on a January transfer window is realistic, to be honest with you, because, you know, you don't get quality in January, and if you do get quality, you you pay for it. So for me, he's got the summer transfer window, and it's a massive transfer window for Marcel Brands, because if he fails that transfer window, and I'm not necessarily saying he failed last summer, but there was definitely elements that he did fail in. Bringing in a centre-back was definitely one of them. Bringing in an Aziz replacement was also one of them, because I still firmly believe that John Philip Gabamon was a player that was brought in as a energetic centre midfield player, fine, but also with the view that he can play centre half and that he can, maybe play in a couple of different positions. He wasn't brought in as, okay, we know Aziz is going to leave the club, so we've got this player lined up who's going to come in and play exactly like Aziz, like, let's say, an Ndidi would be, or maybe at the core. Not saying that we could have got Ndidi, but just to match, really. So for me, Marcel Brands has got this summer. And if we massively fail in this summer, and bearing in mind it's a massive summer, because I honestly believe we need a goalkeeper, a centre-back, a centre midfielder and a striker. And I tweeted this out, I can't remember whether it was before the last live stream or after it. I honestly believe those 4 or 5 players that we need to bring in don't just need to be, okay, well, we'll bring in a young goalkeeper, okay, we'll bring in a young centre-back, we'll bring in a young midfielder, we'll bring in a young striker. They need to be leaders. We're bringing in a goalkeeper, he needs to be a natural leader on the pitch. Centre-back needs to be a natural leader on the pitch. Centre midfielder, natural leader. Striker, natural leader. Though that spine of the team needs to be full of leaders to help the likes of Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Moise Keane, Tom Davies, Mason Holgate, even the the senior players that you might say are senior, doesn't mean the leaders. Luca Dean isn't a leader. Gylfi Sigurdsson, if he's still here in the summer, which I know a lot of people won't want him to be, if we can get a decent money for him, I'm one of those people. He's not a leader. Leighton Baines isn't a leader in terms of screaming and shouting and riling players up. He's a leader by performance, because he performs absolutely fantastically nearly almost every time he puts an Everton shirt on, but he's not in the referee's face, he's not in other players' faces, he's not going to be there riling players up. Same with Seamus Coleman, although he's going at it with fans after the game, he's obviously not doing it with the players. So it's important for Marcel Brands to not only find that spine of the team, which means that we're going to have to spend a lot of money and we're going to have to bring 4 or 5 real good players in, but those players all need to have massive leadership qualities. And if you've got 4 leaders on the pitch, then not only can they help the players around them, but they can also help mould those players into leaders as well. Look at what, and I hate to compare and I hate to mention it because I hate them, but look at what Van Dijk's doing for Liverpool. Van Dijk has come in, stepped in, wasn't the captain, obviously not the club captain. Jordan Henderson's the club captain, but he's absolutely a leader, and he leads not only by example, but he leads by screaming. He directs players, he makes sure players know where they need to be. Van Dijk come out that team on Sunday, and Joe Gomez was the senior player in there, and Joe Gomez was the leader. Now, before Virgil van Dijk was at Liverpool, Joe Gomez wasn't a leader. He was just another young up-and-coming player. Whereas on Sunday, he was the leader. He was leading the kids. He was leading the players forward. And that's exactly what we need. We don't just need players. We don't just need to go like Steve Walsh and Ronald Koeman done, and we'll have him. And, we'll just bring them in because, they might have been good at one point, or they might be good in a certain league. We need these players to be natural leaders who can come in straight away and lead the team forward. And for me, if Marcel Brands doesn't find at least 2 or 3 of those players, because maybe 5 leaders and a spine of a team might be a little bit unrealistic with financial fair play, but if he doesn't bring in at least 2 players that can step in straight away, that have got the quality, have got the ability and the leadership skills, then I think there will be serious questions on his head. But it is a really, really good question, and it's something that needs discussion at the end of the day, because it's not like we had a fantastic summer, and part of the reason as to why we've struggled this season is because of the lack of centre midfielder, the massive lack of a Zizagana replacement, and the centre back situation as well. So yeah.
Just on your point there, Cam. I was thinking back at the Martinez team. Then I was thinking back about that team that finished 5th, and I was thinking, well, Lukaku, he was a sulky twat.
Yeah.
But he would definitely moan, and he would definitely argue with people. So I would say that Lukaku, to a degree, was a leader. Then if you look down the spine, you had Gareth Barrett, you had James McArthur, you had a little bit of sprinkling of the ball-carrying midfielder that badly crave with Ross Barker at the time. And then at centre-back, you had Phil Jagielka, and, we moved out all of our sort of leaders, or they got too old, and one of the biggest criticisms I have is that they never get identified. It's almost like a quality that isn't looked at anymore. Yeah. And actually, it's one of the most important qualities in a footballer, because if you haven't got that mentality that when I step on that football pitch, I am going to be an arse to the opposition, I'm going to scream and shout for every decision off the referee, then what's the fucking point?
Exactly.
What's the point?
Exactly.
So you nailed it. You are absolutely spot on. And I really do hope that they do manage to, in the summer at the very least, find a centre-back that will get in people's faces, a midfielder that will do exactly the same. Because, as you rightly say, you look at Liverpool's side, and they've got James Milner, Jordan Henderson, Van Dijk, and that's just in sort of a back triangle. You're not even talking about, Mane when he loses his head. The team have adapted, which is really shit, because it just shows how different we are to them, and we have to catch up. We have to catch up.
Exactly, spot on. I couldn't agree more. And I think
we're losing a generation of fans.
We are.
We are. I've got my little boy in there. And when I'm saying to him, Everton are the best team in the world, and he's going, well, they're not, Dad. They're actually not.
Yeah,
what?
Factual.
I've got no defence. Yeah. I've got nothing.
Spot on. And, when you obviously you mentioned there about leaders and bringing leaders in, I personally, and I'm not saying this is the only reason as to why he hasn't settled down and he hasn't done as well as he maybe should have yet, but Moise Kean has struggled, and Moise Kean has struggled for a couple of reasons, and one of them is that he's come into a team that has got no leaders. Is nobody is on the pitch directing him where to be. The lad is very, very young, doesn't speak the language, or at least doesn't speak it fluently. Obviously, he's coming into a new country, a whole new culture, a whole new league. Everything is new to Moise Kean, and when he steps on that pitch, what we needed when he come in the summer to make sure that we got his full potential out of him, which is absolutely, who knows where that kid can go in the future, but what we needed is for somebody to be around him, 2 or 3 players to be around him and go, you need to be there, you need to make this run, make that run, bounce off me, do this, do that, do the other. But nobody did. People just left him and sort of, and as a fan base we were guilty of this as well, but definitely the players on the pitch, I think, just left him and sort of went, well, here's this wonder kid that we've signed, so we're just going to step back and you do everything from there. That's not how youth players work. That's not how potential works. That's not how, bringing players on works. You don't just give them the ball and go, there you go, unless they're a natural born leader themselves, which I don't think Moise Kean is. I think Moise Kean's a very, very good young player with a lot of potential, but I don't think he's a leader. And I think we almost sort of fell into the trap of the Lukaku comparison, whereas, like you said there, when Lukaku come on, I think he did have that natural leadership quality to him. He'd get himself about. He would boss people about no matter, even when he was a young player, 18, 19 years old. He'd be screaming at his teammates, his elder teammates, he'd be trying to move them about, he'd be making sure that it all went through him, and maybe that's because of his ego, and maybe that's because he needed to be the centre of attention, but I don't think Moise Kean's like that. Moise Kean's not only a player that you need to put your arm around, and you need to be just giving praise to constantly, and telling him that, he can improve on this, that and the other, but he needs leaders on the pitch. He can't just be put up front and gone, right, when we get the ball, just hit it towards him, and then just stop, and go, well, what can you do now? What are you going to do, lad? We need people around him to be shouting at him, to be putting him into position, to be moving him, to be on the training ground saying, right, you're physically saying you need to be here, and when I'm there, you make that run, you do that. I don't think he's got anybody to do that, and that's a reason why, that's, in my opinion, a reason why he struggled this season. And that's why we need to identify that in the summer, and we need to bring players in that can be those leaders to the younger players. It's tough because it's maybe it's a little bit unrealistic to say that it can all happen in one summer, because we do need 3 or 4, 5 of those players on the pitch at any one given time. Any good team, any team that's winning, trophies, any team that's battling in the Champions League has those leaders on the pitch at any one time. Like you mentioned there with the Martinez team, you had Gareth Barry, leader, Phil Jagielka, leader on the pitch, Lukaku, leader, Gareth Barry, leader. You had that little bit of skill with with Leighton Baines, Seamus Coleman, and Ross Barkley. But as soon as you take those, the likes of your Gareth Barry out, the likes of your Phil Jagielka out, the likes of your Lukaku out, who will scream and will shout and will make sure that their teammates know where they need to be, you just lose it, and I just don't think we've ever replaced that. And leadership is a massive issue with the football club at the minute, and something that massively needs addressing. If you're enjoying this team, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new as well. Subscribe to Mike as well while you're here. He's joining us obviously for today's preview. I do appreciate that the sound was probably not great for the first many minutes of the preview. That was my fault. Don't worry, mate, it was my fault. I had the settings switched on the streaming system that shouldn't have been switched on, basically, so it was just echoing everyone. So it was my fault. So if Mike doesn't mind, we're going to go for a little bit longer to make sure that you get as much as you can out of the preview. If you couldn't hear due to the bad audio, we spoke about how important tomorrow's game is. It's a massive game for Everton, not only after the Merseyside derby defeat, after the shocking week that it's been for Everton Football Club. Obviously with all the social media stuff, Fabian Delph arguing with fans on social media. Fans turning up to the training ground. It's not been a great week for Everton whatsoever, so we need to go out there and we need to put a performance in tomorrow, and that starts with Carlo Ancelotti's team at 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, when we find out who's going to be in that midfield, who's going to be playing up front, and the players need to, at the bare minimum tomorrow, be given 110% effort, urgency, intensity, energy, and battling and working hard, because Brighton are a good team, and Brighton are a team that you can just there's no team in the Premier League. I mean, there's no team in England that you can just afford to just say, right, we're just going to sit around here and expect a win or hope that something comes of it. We showed that on Sunday against a side which was, I'm going to try and be careful here, full of players that hadn't played in the Premier League before. We thought, we'll just win this, so we don't have to we don't have to try. And, they ran rings around us. So we need a big performance tomorrow. Every player has got to prove their point. Obviously, Carlo Ancelotti's press conference really refreshing today. It really did look like a press conference of a man that had gone in that dressing room and said to those players, you were not good enough, and that ain't happening again. And, basically, 2 or 3 are fucked already. You're going already. But the rest of you need to start putting performances in, or you'll be following them. Obviously, we've seen Cenk Tosun leave the football club today. I don't want to put any blame on Cenk Tosun because he didn't come on. He wasn't a part of that. He wasn't a part of that game. But again, it's Carlo Ancelotti's first outgoing player, other than loans. But he has left the club to join Crystal Palace. And when I say loans, I mean loans of young players. But he has left the club to join Crystal Palace on loan until the end of the season. Some reporting that there's a clause for them to buy him on a permanent, sign an on clause of around 20 million. Not too sure if that's 100% confirmed yet, but we'll have to wait and see. Just on updates on players, injuries as well. Carlo Ancelotti confirmed that Andre Gomes is due back for individual training at Finch Farm over the next week or so, which is massively important. And fantastic news as well. We've missed Andre Gomes massively. Not only the quality of the player, not only what he brings to the squad, but also having him fit and having as many players fit as possible, considering the weakness of our squad. Jean-Philippe Gbamin also is in individual training. So we'll get back into the live comments. Robust TW says, what's your expectations for this season? So I think we said sort of top 10, and really that's all you can expect, especially after the bad start of the season, let's be perfectly honest. Blue says midfield, don't expect Gbamin and Gomes to come back and be effective immediately. They won't. They're going to have to obviously regain fitness. They're going to have to start to work with the team, and they're not probably going to come back for quite a couple of months, a month, maybe 2 months, 3 months. They're definitely not going to be in the starting 11 consistently until maybe even the start of next season. But regardless, airing that they're back in training, airing that they're working, and they're getting back into fitness, obviously is really positive. Christian says Gordon. I don't know whether he'll play. I don't even know whether he'll be on the bench. Obviously, he hasn't been on the bench many times under Carlo Ancelotti. Where I'm just getting through all the noise comments. That was my fault. So I appreciate everyone letting me know that the noise wasn't great. That was my fault, like I said. Whamey says, why do we have to lose and react more losing than reacting? Don't know what that means there, but yeah, spot on. He says Everton 0 decisiveness. Yeah, spot on. Where are we? Lewis says, I think we should bring in Feeney, Gibson as centre back and move Holgate centre defensive midfielder. Bring in Gordon and have him and Richie on the wings with DCL and Keane up front. I want to mention this, Mike. I've had a lot of comments, and I'm sure you have as well. And fans messaging you and talking to you and tweeting you about bringing in some of the under-23s into this current squad. Now, it's you know, it's really, it's warranted, and it's a really, really good point. If anything, just to the fact that we haven't got a lot of fit players and that we need players to fill those spaces. But you know, I know definitely from, you know, the live comments on my live streams and tweets and stuff, and I'm sure you know the same. A lot of people are wanting, you know, some of the young players in the starting 11. The likes of Anthony Gordon, who is popping up now pretty much every week. You know, people wanting him in the starting 11. Lewis Gibson, Morgan Feeney as well. What are your thoughts on, you know, bringing in some of the younger players? And I think especially after the Sunday's performance and Sunday's results, a lot of people were sort of wanting the younger players to come in purely based on the fact that they would have at least tried their hardest and had something to fight for. So what are your thoughts on, obviously, on that?
So again, I mean, I'm going back to sort of last season here, but we, as a team, as much as we say that we promote youth, and obviously, you know, we're very proud of the fact that our under-23s have won the league throughout the last 3 seasons. Our under-20s were very prominent in the under-20s World Cup, which we won, etc., etc. The simple fact of the matter is that no manager has actually came in and actually took our under-23 team, took the best players out of that team and consistently played them. And we've seen it time and time again for years. You know, Luke Garbutt, he played in the Europa League under Martinez. He looked like a ready-made replacement for Baines. A wand of a left foot. Pace, could defend, look great. Ben Ingeme, 2 years ago, comes on against Chelsea, absolutely dominates the midfield. We don't see enough of it, and it's a real frustration for me, actually, because the players in these teams are clearly good enough, and a lot of people, actually, as a result of this, have been questioning what Unsworth actually does to promote these players. Does he knock on the first team manager's door? Does he go up to Ferguson and Ancelotti? And does he actually say, look, there's no point him being in my squad anymore. Either put him in the first team or send him out on loan? Because it's really frustrating that actually we won the league with one of the oldest under-23 sides in history. Yeah. Pointless. You know, we're playing Oumar Niasse, who's 55 up front. It's a complete waste of time. So, you know, your players like your Kieran Dowell, your Ledsons, you know, even these players all had real quality and never made it. And that's not down to them. It's down to Everton. So, honest to God, if ever there was a time to play youth, in my opinion, it is this game, because if I see Fabian Delph, Morgan Schneiderlin and Gylfi Sigurdsson in the same team, I will probably go and tackle the 3 of them myself. And I'm a fat man. Do you know what I mean? Like, all I want to see is some energy from people who are hungry. And equally, for the fans, us, because we're guilty of it, to not jump on their back, which we've done with Ross Barkley, which we've done with Tom Davies time and time again. Look, I don't think Tom Davies is a top 6 player. I really don't. But I think he's probably the best at what we've got as of right now.
He's a squad. I agree.
They need to play.
Tom Davies himself, and I don't think anybody confesses him to be a fantastic player and going to be the next whoever. But what he is like you've said there, he's the best that we've got at the minute, and he will be a good squad player for years and years to come. He'll be a good player that can come off the bench. You know what, I think Tom Davies has got a good footballing brain. I just think sometimes technically he's let down a little bit, but he knows he can. If you're winning 2-1 in a tough game and you put Tom Davies on the last 10 minutes, he will get the ball in midfield and he will stop himself and he will run it to the corner flag and he'll win fouls and he'll break forward. He's a very positive player. Yes, in games he looks, you know, stuck in against Manchester City. You know, he looked like he was absolutely confused as to where he needs to be. But if you can bring Tom Davies on in the last 10 or 15 minutes of a game that you're winning and, you know, you're under pressure a little bit, he will slow the game down. He'll win fouls. He'll get the ball into the corner flag. He'll do what he needs to do with the ball. He very rarely makes a mistake in that situation when he's brought on to just shore the game out, because he's a clever footballer. But I totally agree. You know, listen, I love David Unsworth. He's an Everton legend and he seems like an absolutely sound bloke. But You know, you do have to wonder, is he knocking on the door like you mentioned there? Is he saying, okay, you know, Anthony Gordon, I understand that, you know, he's training with the first team now and obviously he's in and out the squad, but I honestly believe he's good enough to, you know, to be, you know, at least in this starting 11 considering the players that are in there. He should be having those conversations with Carlo Ancelotti, he should be having those conversations with Duncan Ferguson, because you're right, what's the point in them just being there to play in the under-23 league over and over again, year in, year out? It's about development. It's about those players taking the step up from the 16s to the 18s to the 23s and ultimately to Premier League football. And if they can't take that step up to Premier League football, then they go out on loan or then they're shipped off. Obviously, we have seen it in times in previous seasons with Calvert-Lewin and Tom Davies, Mason Holgate, etc. But I think there are players in that under-23s that now realistically should be getting in this Everton team, or should at least be coming off the bench, you know, pretty much every game. Not in Carabao Cup games or FA Cup games or games against League One opposition, or, you know, games that we're winning 4-0 in or 3-0 in, and you know, it's short. We should be able to rely on it and Anthony Gordon to come on or to start a Premier League game. I honestly would have preferred Anthony Gordon to have started the derby on Sunday, other than the two that did in midfield. Not only because he's a young player and I think he's got more pace than the likes of Gylfi Sigurdsson and Morgan Schneiderlin, but he would have fought and he would have wanted to fight because he knew that this was his massive opportunity to break into the first team and to keep his place. And I think Carlo Ancelotti now needs to work with David Unsworth in doing that and developing those players, because, you know, like you said there, okay, we are winning the under-23 leagues and we're winning it consistently, but it isn't great to see an under-23s match and see Oumar Niasse in the team and Cuco Martina in the team, because that's not what development's about. The under-23s isn't a place for players that don't get in the first team to then go and play some football elsewhere. You know, if you've got injuries in the under-23s and maybe you've got players coming back from injury, then fair enough, give them a game in the 23s, get them back to playing football. Like what might happen with Andre Gomez, Jean-Philippe Cabanas, you might see them having a game or so in the under-23s to regain the fitness and to get them back up for it. And that's absolutely fine, that's 100%, but don't be having, you know, Oumar Niasse starting every week for the under-23s because he's not good enough to get in the first team, because that just defeats the object.
Well, we've been, you know, if you think about some of the players that our under-23s have had, they've had a fantastic creative midfielder in Kieran Dowell, who has had fantastic pre-seasons. Apparently his attitude was questioned, and now he's nowhere near the first team. Exactly the same thing happened with Luke Garbutt. We've had it, and we probably will have it with players like, you know, Morgan Feeney and other youngsters. The two of the players you mentioned there, one come from Barnsley, the other one come from Sheffield United. So we're not even using the youth that we're developing. We're buying youth in. You know, Gibson was from Newcastle or wherever he was. You know, we're not even using our own youth self. So I've got to be honest, I'm really concerned. Not just at the Everton first team, but actually the whole tier.
The club, and that's it. And they say business is fair from the top, and that's exactly what we're seeing. What we're seeing on the pitch, what we seen on Sunday, was very, very symbolic of what's going on right at the top in the boardroom, whether it be the 23s, whether it be the people that make the posh meals. It's the whole club at the minute, and I said this on I can't remember, I think it was Wednesday. The whole club just it needs a revamp, because businesses don't fail from the bottom, they fail from the top. What we're seeing on the pitch is a direct correlation of what's going on throughout the rest of the football club. The under-23s at the minute needs a complete revamp, because it needs to be about developing players, not playing players that don't get in the first team just to give them some game time and make the use of their 50 grand a week contract. If Oumar Niasse isn't good enough to play in the first team, then he goes. He doesn't play in the under-23s, he leaves the football club. Exactly. You know, it's not a place to just put players in to give them game time, it's a place to develop younger players. And you hit the nail on the head with the likes of Kieran Dowell and Luke Garbutt, etc. And talking about attitude, you've seen the goal scorer on Sunday come out and said, I want to be in this team every week. Now he knows he ain't getting in that Liverpool team every week whatsoever. In fact, he ain't getting in that Liverpool team consistently for years because of the players that they've got. But he's coming out and he's saying, I want to be in this team, and if I'm not in this team, then I want to move elsewhere because I need to be playing football. That's the type of attitude. Although people say it's questioned, that's what you want. You want people to be saying, hang on, I need to play. I want to be playing week in, week out. Not spitting their dummy, not, you know, kicking the toys out the pram, but saying, I need to be in this team. I'm good enough. I'm good enough to be in this team, so give me my opportunity. That's what that kid said to Klopp. He scored an absolute worldie. That's what Anthony Gordon should be saying to Ancelotti, and Ancelotti should give him his opportunity, and then that player has got absolutely no reason to not give it all, not give it 100%, because he's got something to prove. Gylfi Sigurdsson and Morgan Schneiderlin, they've got nothing to prove. They pretty much know they're going to be in and around this squad week in, week out, getting 100 grand a week, 75 grand a week, whatever it is. They've got nothing to prove. If you put Anthony Gordon in that midfield, he's not going to stall around like, I can't be arsed here. I can't wait to go home to me supermodel missus and me 25 bedroom house. He's going to think, fucking hell, I'm playing a Premier League game for Everton. I need to impress here. Otherwise, I might be looked at by Carlo Ancelotti and he might say, you're not good enough. And Carlo Ancelotti isn't an Everton fan. He hasn't been born an Everton fan. He's only been here a couple of weeks. He won't even have looked much at the under-23s because of the shambles that the first team's in. So he's not going to sit there and go, right, okay, Anthony Gordon had a poor game today, but the last 2 or 3 seasons, yeah, he's been alright in the under-23s. He'll look and go, he was shite, him, not good enough, move him on. And that's why these players are going to come through and go, I've got a point to prove. I need to at the very least, try my absolute hardest. And that's what we need to be seeing, because it's very, very clear that there's certain players in this squad, in this team, that just haven't got a future at this football club. And the players that should have a future more than anyone are the young players.
Well, listen to this. So in October, I went on holiday, and it was the same week that the Everton under-16s played Blackburn, and they were 3-1 down at half-time, and they won 4-3. Well, I bumped into the whole under-16 Everton squad at the services, madly enough. They're all buying their Mars, milkshakes and that. And I walked up to a couple of the players. I could see the coaching staff, and they were fine with it. They could see me in an Everton shirt, chilly in tracksuit. And I walked up to the Everton players and I went, well done today, boys. Well done. You did us proud today. Just keep going. You'll be in the first team in no time. And the one lad, I don't know his name. I don't know loads about the under-16s or whatever. And he comes out and he goes, yeah, it won't happen, mate. And I just sat there and I thought, why is that mentality there? Why is it there?
That's it. And that is that. Like you said, it runs from the top. But you have to question, why is he saying, yeah, it won't happen? Is that just maybe a negative lad who maybe is struggling a little bit and doesn't believe in his own confidence and is saying, yeah, I don't believe it? Or is he being told from people, yeah, just try your hardest, and then you're probably going to go out on loan a couple of times, and then ultimately you'll be sold because the club prefer to bring in players that,
Is he just watching?
Exactly.
Just watching. Just watching the under-23s get signed. I mean, look at the lad at Sheffield United now, Lundstrom. Yeah. He's having an absolutely phenomenal season. He's playing, I think, right back or wherever. He scored a shitload of goals because of the system that Sheffield United play. I'm telling you right now, with someone who is a leader, who puts their body on the line every week, and you're telling me that we're currently playing with players that just wouldn't do it. All I want is for our under-23s and our under-20s. Ellis Sims, he's one. Sims is, in my opinion, is a player that seems to have a lot of quality. He's got nowhere near the first team. Even when we had injuries up front, he's got nowhere near the first team. And I question why. Would we have discovered Wayne Rooney under our current regime? No. Would we have seen a Jack Rodwell when he was good? No, we wouldn't have. Ross Barkley? No. David Moyes sticks Ross Barkley in the first game of the season against Norwich as a 16-year-old kid because he had faith in our youth. And I just have real concern that either the director of football or the manager, and you can't blame Ancelotti because he ain't been there long enough, as you say, but Silva, Martinez, Allardyce did not have even Unsworth didn't have faith in the under-23s. We had Ademola Lookman, who had come in on big money, and they farmed him out on loan. They didn't play. Yes, he might have had a bad attitude, but you know what? In that team that had a midfield of Klaassen, Rooney, Sigurdsson and Tom Davies with zero pace, no wingers, and Ademola Lookman would have been our Theo Walcott, would have been our outlet, would have been our... And we went and spent £25 million on Walcott. I'm sorry, but at times I could simply just say, Everton, just fuck yourselves. You're on a different level.
And that's how it feels, and players do need to be... the manager isn't knocking on the door on behalf of players, then maybe the players need to knock on the door themselves, but I dare say it's a little bit... intimidating thinking, right, I'm going to go and knock on Carlo Ancelotti's door now and say, I want a game of football for this football club, given that he's the amount that manager's won, what that manager's seen. So it does need to be that, the people, the people ahead of him, the David Unsworths, even the Duncan Fergusons, who were right next to him saying, listen, being, good mates with David Unsworth, being in a couple of under-23s games, 2-3 lads here that are real good quality, at least good enough to come in and take a place on the bench if we're struggling for fitness or whatever, and maybe give them an opportunity and see what they've got. That'd lift the confidence so much. But the fact that I'm really happy you told me that story. The fact that you mentioned there that kid literally said it won't happen, it shows that. And don't get me wrong, it could be just one lad who hasn't got much faith in himself, but it ultimately shows that there's.
He scored.
There you go. I'd be interested to see who that was.
I really wish. If I saw a picture of the team, I would be able to tell you who it was. If I look, I would let you know, and you can come back to your viewers on this, because I've got to be honest. I'm looking at the viewers on here, and you've got some great guys watching this stream. I must say, it's a credit to you and your streamers, because very impressive, very impressive, mate. Got a lovely little group here, nice little community. I love it.
While Mike says that, if you're enjoying, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second, obviously. Subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. Go over and subscribe to Mike. The link is in the description. I'll fly through some of these comments now, because I'm aware that you're probably all getting bored listening to our faces talk about the under-23s. Andy says, hi guys, like to join vid, should get together with a few others and have a big debate. Do you think we should go after go and get another striker in before we let Tosun go? January isn't the best to get quality in. Tosun's gone. Obviously we haven't brought another striker in. Whether we do bring one in this month, I don't know. I would rather us go out and buy a fantastic world-class striker with leadership qualities in the summer than rush and buy an overpriced player that won't have much of an impact this month, if that makes any sense. Yeah. Karen says, the crap that I've had to take off the shite is not doing my personal mindset any good. I think you speak for a lot of us there, Karen. Wemmy says we need 3 players or we'll be at the bottom of the table in January. I'm assuming you're meaning. Wemmy says the lads might have a point. Karen says a goalie that dies for the cameras. Anyone agree? Maybe, potentially.
I'd sell it.
I'd definitely be looking be looking in the market to bring somebody in, and I think Jordan Pickford's ego is something that we need to look at this season. Don't get me wrong, in terms of shot stopping, I think he's a very good shot stopper, but I think Jordan Pickford knows that there's nobody behind him that's going to battle him. There's nobody behind him that's going to, make him work for his place whatsoever. Jonas Lazar's, God knows where he's gone, and Martin Stecklenberg's absolutely, useless, if I find a better word. And Jordan Pickford knows that, so that's probably feeding his ego, is to say, well, doesn't matter how poor I perform, I'm going to be in here week in, week out. And I think, if not replace him in terms of, letting him go and bringing in a better goalkeeper, we definitely need to bring in a goalkeeper that's going to come in and going to make him fear for his place, because we just haven't got one at the minute. Alfie says, talking about the midfield, lads, can't wait for Andre and Gabaman to be back soon, but I do not want to rush it because of long-term reasons if something happens badly, which involves next season. Exactly, spot on. Brian says, get to safety first and bring in the youth. Forget about the Euros for this. Forget about the Euro for this season and go again next season. When he says unblock Mark, he's my mate. I don't think I've blocked anyone. From my knowledge anyway. Cannon says Coleman. Actually, right, I'm not going to read the rest of that. Tuesday says DCL rules. Okay, come on, Everton. John says Brighton are going to liquidise their undercrackers when they hear that siren come o'clock tomorrow. Good way of putting it, to be fair. Goodsoul says to get the best out of Keane, he needs a creative midfielder in the centre, playing through balls to him. We haven't got anyone like that. We're not playing to his strengths. I couldn't agree more. We're not playing to his strengths. When he says Brighton will be a tough game, it will. Mark says, remember, Ancelotti needs time as well as the players. Strong squads are built over a period of years. Long road ahead, but with faith in the manager, it will work. John says, yeah, but we have 12 men. If we get behind the boys, we'll win, I think. I hope so, mate. I do hope so. Cannon says, Bernard in the middle. Keane scores, you heard it first. There's an Aston Villa fan here saying, hands off Grealish. Listen, if there was any chance of Everton signing Jack Grealish, I'd personally, and I haven't got a driver's licence, bear in mind, but I would drive up. Not that I'm... Mike's got a driver's licence, because I don't...
I'm a brummer.
There you go.
I'll just pick him up.
Oh, you're around the corner. I don't want to advocate illegal driving.
He genuinely is.
So Michael, pick him up and bring him down here. He is a fantastic footballer, and I would genuinely love him at Everton Football Club. But I think I don't know.
Ship sailed. Needed to get him last summer.
We could have got him a couple of summers ago. We could have got him when he was in Ibiza with his face down, pissed up. But
12 million.
But, the media screwed that story up, and nobody wanted to go near him. And now again, not only a fantastic footballer, but what have we been talking about for the majority of this team? A leader, a player that leads the players around and that drags his teammates forward, that wins games on his own. Something that we exactly need. John says, in my opinion, is Villa better? Watch out. Watford, Southampton and Norwich are picking up points. If they go down, Grealish won't be there for much longer. I don't think that Grealish will definitely stay at Villa, but I just don't know whether Everton are going to be able to attract him, because I think there'll be a lot of top teams after Jack Grealish, if I'm being honest with you.
Can I throw another name at you, just while you're there? So if we don't sign Jack Grealish, and Jack Grealish goes to, say, Man United, for example, would you be tempted to go and bid for McTominay?
Ooh. I quite like Scott McTominay.
So, that's what I do. I stir shit up.
I quite like Scott McTominay, to be honest. I don't think he's a similar player. I don't think he's the same player to Jack Grealish. I think he's more like I don't want to say like an Adesanya. He's more of a defensive midfielder from what I've seen.
He's a controller.
He does control the game. I like him. I do like him. I wouldn't pay over the top stupid money for him. He's young, he's got potential. I would. But I'd also want to go out for somebody a little bit more like Jack Grealish in terms of attacking wise and that creative midfielderness. But I wouldn't say no to Scott McTominay if there was other players coming in that we needed more of, like a centre midfielder, striker, centre back, right back, left wing, right wing. It's the whole team basically.
Fucking hell, we're going all over. Yep. Never players.
Cannon's. There you go. Cannon said, Klopp has had 4 years to get where they are. Sunday was a pinnacle of his wisdom. We won't suffer that anymore. He has had 4 years, and he's even got the youth players that believing in him, even though they probably know that they're not going to get much of an opportunity in that first team. Raymond says, always see you, Greg. You're finally an average player playing well. Fair dues, lap it up. Joe says, catch everyone like live now. Whammy says, John says, what is he doing? Yeah, we'll dismiss the Aston Villa player who's saying we're not going to sign Grealish, because we probably aren't. Andy says, agree about Gordon starting in Derby. I would have had Gibson and Mina at centre back and Holgate, Davies, Gordon in the middle, young, hungry, not too scarecrow that don't move in the midfield. Yeah, but again, you sort of, we can't really blame it. We can't really put an awful lot on Carlo Ancelotti, because he's a player he's a manager that will have come in and will have not known an awful lot about our first team and our senior players, if you want to call them that. Never mind the under-23. So he is going to have to take time to learn about the under-23s and watch some of their games and see how good they are and whether they've got an opportunity to break through. Where are we? Whammy says hit the like button. If you could hit the like button, it'd mean a massive amount to me. Football fan says tossing at Palace, Michael. What are your thoughts on that, Mike?
Yep. I think it's a good move for Tossen. I think it's a good move for Everton as well, because I have no doubt that Tossen is a really good finisher. I've always said that Tossen is a decent finisher. His problem is, again, we don't play to his strengths. I always saw Tossen as a very similar, not as good, version of Harry Kane. Someone who just can't do it on his own, but can finish if he's in the box. He's got that little turn. We see it for Turkey all the time. We saw it in some of his Champions League performances. He's not going to do that at Everton, because we've never played that style of football. Under Silva, a lot of it was down the wings, crossing the ball in, which was terrible. Then we tried to play it through the middle, which again doesn't suit him because he's not quick enough. So we really do need to just see how he plays. £17 million or €20 million is whatever the buyout clause at the end of the season. I hope he smashes it at Palace and he signs for them. That's what I hope. But I think one thing,
I was a bit confused midweek, I'm not going to lie, because, obviously, like we said, it was a really negative week, and people were putting up their list of Everton players that they want to sell and want to see leave the club, and obviously your Morgan Schneiderlin was in there, your Gylfi Sigurdsson was in there, your Fabian Delph was in there for obvious reasons, Michael Keane because he's been poor, but Tossen was in there, and don't get me wrong, Shane Tossen probably doesn't have a future at Everton Football Club. I just don't think he's got enough pace. I don't think he's got enough pace to play in the Premier League, to be honest with you, but definitely not in our team going forward. But I just don't think you can ever question his professionalism. I don't think you can ever question his will. He always tried his hardest. He was a very, very good ambassador for the football club, and I know that's not what we need. We need a striker that's going to be in there scoring goals week in, week out. And I've got no issue with us selling Cenk Tosun and moving Cenk Tosun on and loaning him out, etc. But I was just a bit confused about how people were genuinely getting on his back as much as they were, because he had no involvement in the derby. He hasn't had any involvement in quite some time. And I think he's a good professional. He just isn't right for our football club. And maybe that was the reason why he was in those lists. But I agree, it's a good move for him, and it's a good move for the football club. When he says point of a loan, why don't you just give him to them? I don't think they would have signed him for 20 million at the minute. They probably want to see what he's like, so let's hope he does smash it. Football fan says, you like Immobile? I do. I'd really love Immobile at Everton, but again, whether he'd come, I don't know. We seem to be linked with every Italian player in the world now, and Carlo Ancelotti's come out today in his press conference that I keep referring to, and said that basically we're looking to bring in players and we're hoping that we're going to be able to strengthen, but every name that you've read in the paper is utter bollocks, basically. So, and that's, I think, what we all sort of felt when we were seeing James Rodriguez linked and Immobile and Insigne. You do have to step back and go, well, hang on, how much of this is just utter shite trying to fuel bets, basically, and it turns out from the manager's mouth himself that a lot of it was. Where are we? John says Palace wanted him for 2 years, so at the end of that loan we can sell him for £2. William says bit old. William says got to stop buying players who can only devalue. Tom Davies, I assume you're not the real Tom Davies, but if you are, what's happening? He says, what do you think about Ings? He has gel with DCL. I like Danny Ings, but I don't like Danny Ings because he's an ex-Liverpool player and he always scores against Everton, but it's hard to deny his quality. And that's definitely this season, he's on fantastic form. But I just don't think Danny Ings would work at Everton, to be honest with you, just because of that Liverpool. And it's not just a Liverpool connection where he's played for Liverpool and he's got his head down and then he's left. He really did lap up the playing against Everton in the whole I'm a Liverpool fan sort of mentality, and I just don't think that'd work. Danny Ings, Mike? Yeah? No?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. There's no doubt that he has got pretty much all of the qualities I want in a striker. He's gobby, he's competitive, he's aggressive, he knows where the goal is. He is a good striker. There's a reason why they signed him, and there's a reason why they sold him for 20 mil, whatever. But it's the Liverpool thing. I couldn't deal with it. You could offer me an in prime Steven Gerrard, and I'd tell him to fuck off. Like I can't do it.
I agree. Good point. When we said Todd Cantwell over Grealish, I'd like Todd Cantwell as well, but again, I think he's another player that needs to come into a squad that's got natural born leaders and that's got players that are going to be there to spur him on and to give him that boost he needs. Not a squad where he's going to be coming in and being the player that's given the ball and said, "You do something now," because I just don't think that'd help him and his development.
I think Cantwell and Grealish and Maddison, if we're going to throw the three of them in, we may as well, and throw Tom Davies in. Cantwell's a very different player because, like, he's very one-footed. I don't necessarily think he's got the natural talent that Grealish has got. I think out of the four of those players, Grealish is the most complete footballer. He's got the brain, he's got the skill, he's got the finish. Maddison's not always got the brain, but he's got the skill and the quality and the wand of a foot. Cantwell is an okay footballer, but I never think he's going to play in the top six side. And then you've got Tom Davies, who I think probably has the best football brain, but probably the worst technical ability. And don't get me wrong, we do see moments for Tom Davies where he can beat three players on the spot and carry the ball away, but it happens rarely. So, yeah, if I was ordering them, I'd put Todd Cantwell just above Tom Davies.
I disagree with that. Football fan says, Michael, who will score tomorrow versus Brighton? That's assuming that we'll score. Will we score?
Yeah. So we haven't given our score prediction, so I might as well just throw mine out there. So I think Everton wins tomorrow 2-0. I'll go for Dominic Calvert-Lewin to score. And I also go with Richarlison to score. I think Richarlison needs a big game. I think he needs a goal. So,
as well at Goodison Park. Very, very good game.
Well, do you remember that goal he scored where we Yeah. I mean, I love that. So,
the first goal when we counter-attacked and it was bish bash bosh, and then he put it in was fantastic.
Yeah, well, that was phenomenal. That was because he carried the ball out, it went up the wing, and he then just carries on his run. Ball comes over. It's just a solid finish. So yeah, Richarlison and DCL 2-0 Everton win. What about you?
I'm going to go 3-1. Again, I do see us conceding. I don't like to say that, but I do. But I also agree. I think it could be a big game for Richarlison, a big game for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And I see Everton reacting from what happened on Sunday and just putting in a genuinely good performance tomorrow. So I'm going to go with 3-1. Whammy says, we are linked with an Italian winger, Ricardo Summit, who looks decent. Is Summit his last name, or is Summit just you don't know his last name? I haven't seen that link, I'm not going to lie. Football fan says, come on Twitter and direct message me please, Michael. There you go.
Sorry mate.
Whammy says, buen dia. He's a good player. Craig 90 says, 4-3-3, Pickford, Sidibe, Mina, Holgate, Dean, Davies, Delph, Bernard, Richarlison, DCL, Keane. Potentially, I don't know whether Delph will play. I think he'll probably take Delph out because of the whole situation with the fan, and probably rightly so as well. Cannon says 5 mil a year, Tosin. Raymond says Tosin is Tosin, not his fault. He's tired. Gylfi and Sneijder are jokes of men. I agree. He did try all the time, and you can't blame him for the fact that he hasn't got all the best qualities in the world, and he's not the greatest player. He was 100% professional, and he gave us all every time he played on the pitch. James says Pickford's height and Keane's pace has cost Everton too many goals. Calvert-Lewin is not the answer to Everton's striker problem. Need Gomez back ASAP. Only leader in midfield. I
completely agree with that.
As well. I agree. I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin's a good young player, but he's not what we need to bring us forward. I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin could play in a 2 with a natural born world-class striker to take us forward, but definitely not on his own. Go on.
Can I just say though, 2 weeks ago he was 75 grand a week and 50 million to Man United. That's football. 5 goals. That's it. We snap it. It's madness. Can I just also say as well, just on James's comment, Pickford's height in Keane's pace doesn't just cost us in real life, it costs me on FIFA. So if you're interested in watching me get dicked, there's going to be a FIFA video out at about 7:30 on Network Marketing. Make sure you check that out, guys.
Go and check it out. Everyone loves it. If Everton aren't letting you down in real life, go and let Everton let you down on FIFA. At least you can turn FIFA off.
Hey, fuck me.
Well, welcome to this world. Where says Tyrone Mings, very good player. Don't know whether Villa would let him go easily, but I'd have him. Cannon says that Leeds midfielder looks decent. Which one? James says, is midfield all I want is a speed start and a terrier. Potentially. CTS says promote from the academy. Spot on. James says Everton 4, Brighton 0. It's optimistic there. I wouldn't mind seeing that, but I don't know if I'm that confident. Tom says, do you think Gylfi will be in the main stand? Where he says, James, love the enthusiasm. James says Siggy and Sneijder can't play tomorrow. A caller was in nothing. I don't think they will play. And football fans, as you like Alan St. Maximin from Newcastle. I haven't seen too much of him, to be perfectly honest with you, but I do like what I've seen. He also says Moyes playing tonight versus Lunson, Besic, Jags and Rodwell. There you go. Everton's youth. Besic as well, another player that I seen, watched last week, throwing last-ditch tackles in and running around and getting involved. Another player that you could almost guarantee wasn't the best on the ball, but would give us it all 100% of the time and would battle.
Do you remember when he made his debut? It was pre-season against Porto. And he comes on, he skins 2 people in his first touch, and I sat there and I thought, we've signed the next Messi. And then there was that video where he sprints and he catches Gareth Bale, and I thought, what is this? 4 million quid.
In a typical Everton way, we see that in a pre-season friendly. We all go into the first game going, get in, this Mo Besic, fantastic touch on the ball, took 4 or 5 players on, brilliant. And then his first game that people are actually watching on the telly in the Premier League, he plays a straight through ball and Chelsea beat us about 4 or 5-0 or something. He shite that Mo Besic.
Yeah.
You're like, no, just seeing it take on all of Porto's midfield in about 2 seconds and spray a fantastic 50-yard ball, and he's gone and done that on the telly. Wallpaper for everyone says, Cam and Mike, more of this in future, quality this, thank you very much. We'll definitely have more of this. James says, Cameron, where is concerning you haven't questioned why he doesn't score? Why is Tosin concerning you haven't questioned why he doesn't score? In my opinion, you don't feed the striker will never score, so I blame on midfield. Potentially, good point, definitely a point to argue. I question Tosin's pace, to be honest with you. I just think you need loads of pace to play in the Premier League, and I don't think he's got it. Football fans says Gylfi can go now, he's useless, too slow. Just remember Funes Mori's header. Yeah, Funes Mori, what a player. Another player that gave us all, but wasn't technically gifted, should we say.
his head didn't know what his feet were doing. It was velocity, just slower.
And a centre back who actually thought he was a striker. When he says FIFA 20 is an atrocious game, I haven't played FIFA for ages. Football fans says, Michael, what players do you like from Newcastle? There you go. What players do you like from Newcastle?
I like Lascelles when he's fit. I like Yedlin. I think he's a decent right back. I'm going to say it, and I'll probably get some stick for this, but actually, they've got. I mean, John Joe Salve. He started the game against Everton the other week, and he was fantastic. He was the only one that I actually thought, you know what, he's better than what we've got in that position. I like St. Maxim. I think he's very skillful, very quick. I'd question his end product at the minute, but I do think that will come. And then I'm not massively keen on this striker, and obviously they didn't replace players like Jose Perez. So I actually think Steve Bruce has done a decent job with no disrespect, a poor team. They've also got a very good centre back in Shah. He is a very, very good centre back, no doubt about it. But he's been injured. So they're the players I like at Newcastle. Oh, and they've got a decent keeper. I mean, fucking hell. Fucking hell. Should be top fucking 6.
However, they're not. Basically, I think we'll round it up now. Been going for over an hour and 20 minutes, so just nearly an hour and 20 minutes.
Checks in the fucking post,
but yeah, listen, it did start as a game preview. Obviously, it's gone on to a little bit more of a Q&A and just a general talk, which is what you want to see, obviously. But a big game tomorrow for Everton. A game that we must win, and we must give our absolute all. There needs to be energy, there needs to be passion, there needs to be urgency, there needs to be intensity. Mike's gone for a 2-0. Is that right? And I've gone for a 3-1, both to Everton. And I have Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison scoring as well.
Who scores for Brighton?
Jahanbakhsh, is that how you say it? I think he's on form.
I knew you were going to say it, and I knew you were going to pronounce it shit as well. I loved it.
However you pronounce it. That lad that hasn't scored in ages and now can't stop scoring, basically. Big game, massive opportunity for Everton, massive opportunity for Carlo Ancelotti to go out there and put out a team that I think will get fans excited. And ultimately you'll get the 3 points at the end of the day. Just go through these last comments before we go. Carl says, hello, my team transfers is Ben Foster, Matthew Mina, John, Egan, Dean, Davies, Kabam and Gomez, Richarlison, and Sydney, DCL. I hate Ben Foster, I absolutely hate him. James says, hi Cam. He's a good keeper. He is a good keeper. I just don't like him. James says, hi Cam. We get a ruthless tomorrow 2-0. Would be great after the shit week if we had Dim and Richie up front. Goal each be nice. Yeah, spot on. You just said you don't like Joe Linton, didn't you? Wayne says it if you did like it, be a massive amount to me. And Carl says Joe Linton is better than Keane. It's shocking. And Wayne says have a good one, people. Yeah, that's going to do it for today's live stream. Don't forget to go and check out Michael's channel in the description, top line of the description. Click on that, go over, subscribe to him, watch the FIFA video that's going up in about 40 minutes time. Watch his game preview as well as all the stuff that John does as well. Absolutely fantastic channel. You can always rely on the content to be proper boss. So go and give him a subscribe if you haven't already. I assume a lot of you have, because if you know me, you probably know Mike. But definitely go and subscribe to him. Just want to say a big thanks for coming on, Mike. Really do appreciate it. We'll definitely have to do it again soon. We'll both be at the game tomorrow, so if you see any of us, come over, say hi. And hopefully it's a positive one. And just to end it on a note that I think Mike said, a little bit earlier on in the stream, if you are suffering with any sort of mental health issue, or you just need somebody to talk to, never ever feel embarrassed, never feel like you can't talk to anybody. My DMs are open, Mike's DMs are open, John's DMs are open. Just drop us a message, even if you just want to talk genuine chat. Drop us a message, and we're always here to just talk. It means a massive amount to me for all of you to join today. If you enjoy, please do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Obviously, I'll be back with the instant match reaction tomorrow afternoon, so let's hope it's a positive one, and let's hope we've gone and got the 3 points. Anything to add, Mike, before we go?
Guys, thank you ever so much, and just go and subscribe and like my channel as well. Appreciate it.
Big thanks for watching. Please leave a like if you have enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Go and check out Mike in the description, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.